Dudes on Movies podcast with your hosts, Scott Charboneau and David Lynn Miller.
Welcome to Dudes on Movies. I'm your dude Scott.
I'm your dude Dave.
And today we're discussing 1971's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, directed by Mel Stewart and starring Gene Wilder. But before we do that, let's talk about what we've been watching. Dave, what have you been watching?
Something very different from Willy Wonka. I watched the second entry in Gregg Araki's Teenage Apocalypse trilogy, The Doom Generation.
Ah, there you go.
Holy crap. I didn't remember this movie being like this, and I found it really hard to get through, I have to be honest. It's not funny. It's not as sexy as it thinks it is, and it made me feel super old because I got a massive headache from the strobe-filled ending. You know? Listen, guys, if you like the movie, that's cool, of course, but I didn't really enjoy it because it's not 1995 anymore.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I thought for sure, I was like, okay, this is going to take me back. And the fashions did, and the hairdos did, and all the music, of course.
Yeah.
But I just was like sitting there going, I don't like what's in this movie. I don't like the message of it. I don't like the cynicism of it.
It wasn't a good experience.
It wasn't. Now, Gregg Araki, I like him as a filmmaker a lot. Watch Mysterious Skin, everybody. That's a fantastic film.
Yeah, that's the go-to for him.
Yes.
And yeah, excellent film.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I'll have to revisit it also.
Mm-hmm.
I caught something from 1944 called Going My Way. It was the Best Picture winner.
Of course.
Starring Bing Crosby as a pastor who goes to a failing church to whip it back into shape. But he does it subtly and with kindness and friendliness and the community.
Right.
It's in contrast to the elder priest who's currently running it, played by Barry Fitzgerald. And he's just like hard-headed and no nonsense. And that's why the church is failing, because people aren't connecting with that, you know? So he comes in, makes things better, and it's actually a really good movie, Dave. I was quite shocked at how much I loved the movie.
Yeah.
I was just afraid, all right, Bing Crosby's going to be coming in and crooning everything, and
yes,
he does, but I tolerated it, and I actually enjoyed a lot of it. A lot of it was plot relevant to characters and things like that.
You mean the music?
The music was, yeah. So yeah, it's an excellent movie, everybody. I would definitely check it out. A fun fact is Barry Fitzgerald was nominated for Best Actor and Supporting Actor, which is quite unusual.
And he just plays one role.
Yeah, he won for supporting and Bing won for the lead. But Barry was nominated for both, which is so strange.
Yeah, that's weird.
The only time that's ever happened in the history of the Academy.
Well, I wonder if they made a mistake and then just left it in just to... I mean, wow, yeah, that is bizarre.
He is very prominent in the movie, but he's definitely not the lead.
Well, yeah, and I mean, he's... Man, how do you justify that, giving somebody the same a nomination for both categories?
I know, double odds? That's not fair.
I mean, come on, right?
All right, Dave, now let's talk about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Why don't you give everyone a synopsis?
Yes, so this is the adaptation of one of Roald Dahl's most famous books, and there's a good chance most of our audience has seen the movie a million times, but if you haven't, it is a funny, warm, sincere movie about a poor child whose good nature is finally rewarded when he wins a tour of the world's best chocolate factory. And his fellow guests aren't so lucky because they're spoiled, wealthy, shitty children whose parents have indulged them in all things and all their worst habits. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. You know, this is a topic we love, Dave.
Yes, we do.
The privileged getting what's coming to them.
Man, if only life were like this.
Yeah.
You know?
This goes well with the menu.
Yes,
Definitely does.
This is a children's The Menu.
Yeah. It definitely is. Yeah, this was your pick. So why don't you tell us why you threw it on the schedule?
Yes. Well, when I was in second grade, each day we'd all come to the front of the classroom and sit, crisscross applesauce, while our teacher, Mr. Schwartz, would read to us. And Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was one of the books he read. And after we got through it, I went to our school library and I checked it out for myself because I couldn't wait to read it on my own. And the same thing happened with like all of Judy Blume's books too, like Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing and Super Fudge. And a few years later, we were at Superstar Video, my family and I saw the movie on the shelf, and I didn't even know it existed until that moment. Not only, of course, I snatched it up, and I liked the movie a lot, and I think it's my earliest memory of seeing a film adapted from a book that I had read. And it was my first time getting to like notice all the differences and, take that all in. And also in preparation for our show, I reread the book a couple weeks ago.
Cool. And
it was great fun to revisit something I hadn't read in forever. Now the book is I mean, of course, it tells a similar story, but it's just it's more explicit about the Bucket family's like extreme poverty.
Yeah,
which I hadn't remembered. There are passages where the mother and father like give up their own bowl of cabbage soup so that Charlie can have something to eat, and it talks about how he's like thinner than the other children at school, and it just, man, it's like John Steinbeck in places, but it's supposed to be, a humorous children's book. It's really depressing in places. I'd still recommend it, of course.
Yeah, Roald Dahl does a lot of that, though. Like, a lot of his stuff has that undertone to it.
Right.
So I can definitely see it in this one.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess you've seen it a million times,
I
right?
have, yes.
As have I. I wouldn't say I grew up watching it, like wearing out the VHS tape or anything, but I've seen it dozens of times.
Okay.
And I'm very familiar with it, and I've always liked it. So,
yes.
You know me, in musicals, I don't really love them, but when there's a weird, sharp edge to them, that's what I tend to be drawn towards, and this one has that.
Okay, and that's the thing with our show recently, is that seems like we've had a lot of musicals lately.
Yeah.
And I know you're okay with Rocky Horror, and with this one, I hadn't remembered. I mean, I've seen it like you dozens of times, but I hadn't remembered that there were this many songs in it. And then when I realized, oh yeah, every time one of the kids gets in a fix, the Oompa Loompas come out. So there's like tons of musical numbers, and it even opens with one right after the opening credits.
Yeah, the Candyman.
Yes.
Yeah. That one can go and die.
I am with you too.
Yeah. This is not a Scott Charboneau musical number right here at all.
As soon as it came on, I thought, oh my God, Scott's hitting fast forward right now.
Yes. So the movie opens with some credits, which is great. You get like an overture of all the songs and images of like the chocolate flowing. It's wonderful. And then we cut to a bunch of kids leaving class after school's out. And they run to the Candyman shop, and I'm like, okay. This guy starts singing about all these different candies he has and how he's here to help the children be happy and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy needs to be on a list.
He's distributing candy for free. I mean, I know he's charging everybody.
Right, yeah.
But like the way it looks, I mean, I guess the kids all pay as they exit the shop or whatever. But yeah, man... The whole school runs into his shop, and this is apparently something that happens every day, and he sings to them.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't sing every day. Who knows? But
well, it seemed like they were ready for it,
You get this this is like a typical musical number, right? Like it's just a guy fancy pantsing around and like chiming about happiness and shit, and I just don't like it.
No.
It's not like it's bad or not put together well. It's, if you like musicals and stuff, you'll probably love it, but no way, man. I just wanted the real Candyman, Tony Todd, to show up and put a hook in this guy's face. That's what I wanted to happen.
Now I'm picturing Tony Todd standing in that candy shop, opening his cloak, and bees flying out.
Hey, where do they get the honey, right? Or he's just like swinging on that ladder,
Dude, oh, yeah.
He's using that hook to like prance around the candy shop.
These kids would get a bite of a reality sandwich.
Yes. Yeah. It would be amazing.
Yes.
So while this is happening, Charlie is looking in the window, and he's kind of like, well, I can't participate in any of this. Mm-hmm. F my life.
Yes. And there was even like a nepotism alert in the candy shop.
Really?
Yeah. Mel Stewart, the director... His kid is like the most prominent voice in the scene. The little brown-haired kid, his name's Winkleman.
With the buck teeth?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's like, hey, what's going on? That was Mel Stewart's kid.
I wanted that kid to get turned into a donkey so bad.
Exactly.
He needs to get lamp-wicked. Yeah, that's what needs to happen to this kid.
Even before you knew that he was like, the son of the director, you're still just like, there's something about this kid. I don't like this kid.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently his daughter read the book and told him to make a movie out of it.
That's the weirdest production notes I've ever heard in a movie. I remember him telling that story in like a documentary I'd seen about the making of the movie, and it was like his 10-year-old daughter said, hey, Dad, I like this book. Maybe you and Uncle Dave can make it into a movie. Like,
yeah,
what?
on one of the anniversary editions, there's a documentary called Pure Imagination.
Yes.
And he goes into it with that for sure. Yeah, so Charlie, played by Peter Ostrom, everybody.
Right.
He's kind of down about it. You know, I'm never going to have anything. And he walks home to his parents' house, and he walks by the chocolate factory, and there's a creepy guy there that gives some exposition,
Yes.
which I love, actually.
I know.
It's really funny. It's supposed to be, like, ominous. And it is a little bit. You know, it's
Yeah.
this factory that's got no lights on and no movement. And then this guy with a cart filled with knives, like there's butcher knives dangling off this hot dog cart.
I know, yeah. There's like a full-on meat cleaver right there next to his face, and it's kind of jangling around. And yeah, when the first time you see this as a kid, and that guy starts talking,
Yeah.
it is a horror movie in that moment.
Yeah,
you
nobody
know?
goes in there, and nobody ever comes out.
He says a little poem before that, even just
Yeah,
something
like he's
about
Freddy Krueger or something.
yes.
You know, he's got like a nursery rhyme that goes with this guy.
Right. Yeah, and Peter Ostrom, he's very good in this movie, of course, just in general.
Yeah.
But what I love most about his performance is the faces he makes when he doesn't know what's going on. It's kind of like what Ralph Macchio does in Karate Kid, but it's more appealing because, like, Daniel needs to be smarter about stuff.
Yeah.
And he has no reason to be this dense, but like Charlie's a little kid. So
Yeah.
everything that he encounters is like, stuff he's never seen before.
Yeah, I feel like Daniel LaRusso's an idiot by choice. And Charlie Bucket is just an innocent, naive child.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's going to like be okay, but yeah, but Daniel has no excuse to be like that.
Yep, he should have left well enough alone, Dave. So we go back to Charlie's house now. We meet his 4 grandparents all in one bed.
Yeah.
And his mom is there making the cabbage soup, which is basically cabbage water.
Right.
And you see the poverty is pretty bad here.
It's essentially just one room. I mean, the whole house.
Yeah.
And you see that they've hung up sheets, to, I guess, partition a little bit so that the mom can have some privacy. And
Right.
I'm sure they've got an outdoor toilet. And I don't even know how the there's bedpans underneath where the grandparents sleep.
Yeah.
Chamber pots. And they've been in that bed for 20 years, we're told. And can you imagine?
They haven't gotten out of bed in 20 years.
I mean, just they're like giant bed sores, all of them.
Yeah. This movie is a horror movie in disguise.
Is. Yes.
It really is.
I mean, like, I remember both in reading the book and also watching the movie when I was a kid, of course, the wonder of it all eventually, makes you feel like a kid. But
Yeah.
but when you're taking in this story and just trying to, it for the first time in my life, I actually felt really lucky to have a decent home to live in and food
right.
to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, the exterior of the house is really nice, though. It looks
is.
great. It's like this German cottage.
Yes.
It looks awesome.
I bet today that house would fetch quite a hefty price.
Yes.
But back then, I mean, it was on the outskirts of town, and it doesn't look like the rest of where they're shooting even.
Right.
Because they shot this movie in Munich and other parts of Germany, and I remember Mel Stewart on that Pure Imagination documentary. They said the reason they did it was both for cost, and he also didn't want. It was funny the way he told the story. I didn't want it to be any kind of American city that people recognize. I didn't want it to be New York, St. Louis.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And he says something in there that sounds a little like rude, actually. Like, I wanted somewhere that sucked almost, is what he said.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like, Munich doesn't. What are you talking about?
And-
like, the way he said it
I
was
know.
not. I don't think it's what he meant.
Yeah.
But it came off the wrong way.
It doesn't sound complimentary of Munich.
No, not at all.
And like the city, that part of the city anyway that they're shooting in is fantastic.
Oh,
It just
yeah.
registers so well on camera. These great exteriors and all the cobblestone and everything. And then
Yeah.
when they're doing aerial shots and all those great like
like the terracotta
Yeah.
roofs and tiles. It's
all
amazing.
this weird burnt orange color that just like really pops on camera.
There's a lot of German influence in St. Louis where we do the show, everybody. And my grandparents had a house that looked kind of like this.
Oh, really?
In the south part of the city, and there's some neighborhoods that are very German.
Okay.
And a lot of the houses kind of have influence from these designs. And I love them. They're
Yeah,
great.
that
My
looks really
parents'
good.
roof looked like this.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. But we get to meet Grandpa Joe, played by Jack Albertson here.
Yes.
And Charlie tells him about the factory, and Grandpa tells Charlie more about it. How, Slugworth is this rival chocolatier or something, and
Yes.
he tried to infiltrate the factory. So Willy Wonka shut it down, and then one day, 3 years later, it magically started again, but no one's there, so they don't know what's going on. Sets up a bit of mystery, a bit
Right.
of intrigue for the movie.
And it's a great way to get that information to us, the audience, just to have Grandpa tell us the story. And it's a very economical way of giving us the details in general too, because when you watch like the remake from Tim Burton in 2005, they show all this, and
yeah.
I know that the rules of film are show don't tell, but when you're making a smaller film, sometimes you need to just we call it the exposition dump, obviously, and we're always very critical of it. But I like this part because it's like they showed us the exterior of the factory, and then they shot it, kind of at magic hour, and they have the tinker there, but saying things in a scary way, and then Charlie being told the story, and it's like that's a great way to tell us what's been going on.
Exactly, and it also serves multiple purposes. It's not just dumping exposition. You see the relationship that Charlie and Grandpa
Yes.
Joe have. They have a really close bond, and they love each other, and they trust each other.
Right.
It looks like they're best buddies, right?
Oh yeah, they're just like absolute. I mean, it reminded me of like my nephew and my dad.
Yeah.
That's kind of just exactly how they were.
Yeah, so the exposition's fine with me, and this is what a grandpa would do with
Yes.
a child. They would explain it. There's a reason for him to be saying this.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's good. And you also see, you see more their situation. Charlie has a job throwing papers, and he bought some bread, and it's a feast now, right?
Right.
And he's going to give Grandpa Joe money to buy tobacco, and he refuses to do it. But Charlie insists, you have to have this. It shows how kind he actually is. He's doing this job throwing papers to support his family because he wants to help them, because he loves them. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, he's definitely like the exact kind of kid that you want to have, and that's another part of this movie that I really enjoy is that it's the kind of movie. If I was to make a kids movie, this would be it. This kind of thing. I'd want it to teach kids the importance of being a good person, and it would also contain a lot of sophisticated, subversive humor.
Yeah.
That's the best kind of kids movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how you mentioned the humor.
Yes.
That might be my favorite part of this movie. It's subversive was the notes I wrote down. It's almost got this weird, like, sharp cutting edge to it also.
Uh-huh.
It's exaggerated and subtle at the same time.
Yeah.
It feels like Monty Python. That's how it feels to me.
Right.
Like, there's a scene when one of the news reporters is just reporting on the first ticket being found.
Yes.
And there's antlers behind him in the background that look like they're coming out of his head.
I love that.
It's just a
shot.
sight gag.
Yes.
It's excellent.
Because it's perfectly framed right in the middle.
Yeah.
And the antlers are just placed exactly where they need to be. Yeah, it's so cool.
But there's no reason for it. It's just there,
Yes.
which is wonderful. Coming up here is when we get Wonka Mania,
Yeah.
because there's an announcement that he's releasing 5 golden tickets to people to come tour the factory, and you got to buy the Wonka bars to win them.
Right.
So everyone goes mad. The whole world goes crazy.
And like the way we find out about it is it's after Charlie and Joe have the conversation.
Yeah.
And the next day at school, Mr. Turkentine, this wacky teacher that Charlie has.
Yeah.
They do some kind of failed experiment. We get to see what his deal is, and then there's a ruckus outside. He goes over and opens the door, and Winkleman walks in again.
Yeah.
To tell us that they just made an announcement that Wonka's going to do this, and like school is let out, and apparently it's let out for the duration. Well, of the whole golden ticket chase, like no one has to go to school.
I didn't even think of that. I just thought it was for the day.
No.
But yeah, you don't see school again,
No,
man.
school is not in session.
I love it because the teacher says class dismissed, and then he finds out more information. He's like, undismissed. Yes. And he finds out a little more, and he goes, redismissed. And everyone leaves. So great.
It's great.
Yeah, they're in class making wart remover. But yeah, the whole world treats it like this is the most important thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
There's even a newscaster we see saying, well, of course there's more important things going on in the world, but I can't really think of one. And it's all played purely straight.
Yes.
There's no play for laughs here, but they're comedic scenes, and that's what makes them so funny.
And there are almost like short films within this part of it, where we cut away from the action of the movie to, like, there's a man on a psychiatrist's couch telling him that he had a dream, and very passionately talking about this dream where the archangel came to him and told him of the location of the tickets, and the psychiatrist, who earlier was being practical about the guy's dreams, tells him, "Shut up, Hofstetter, and tell me where the ticket is."
So good. Yeah, the Sigmund Freud surrogate.
It's definitely like a German psychiatrist who's very serious, and even he is swept up in golden ticket mania.
You get a shot of people putting chocolate bars in armored cars.
Yes.
And there's a van delivering stuff to the White House. And
oh, man.
There's even an auction bidding the last box of chocolate for thousands of dollars. And it swells up, and it ends with the guy looking to the side and going, "Your Majesty."
Yes.
Like the Queen is there buying some chocolate.
Queen
it's amazing.
Elizabeth unexpectedly shows up at this auction house and buys the last case of Wonka bars in the UK.
It's so good. My favorite, though, is the one with the wife who's got the detective there talking about her missing husband.
Oh, man.
This is like some 1970 Cassavetes film or something. And the phone rings and the detective's like, "Yeah, okay." And then he says, they'll give you your husband, but they want your Wonka bars. And the wife, her mood shifts. It's just kind of like, how long do I have to think about it?
Dude,
It's so good.
That is the best. That is the absolute. I mean, like,
It's the best one.
it is. I'm glad they saved it for last because I think they knew it was the best one.
Yeah.
The rich lady whose husband was kidnapped is being held for ransom is also my favorite. It's so well done and feels exactly like what it's spoofing.
Yeah. Because it's
um,
even shot differently. Like
yes.
the camera is placed in more specific ways that those kind of films are shot in,
Right.
like very tight, like different angles and things. Not like this children's fantasy adventure we're going on. This is a serious family thriller.
Dude, you find yourself captivated by it. Even right before the joke happens, but it's like, man, the way she's costumed, even with the big fancy brooch on her. And I just want to have Harold back,
Yeah, dude, she's excellent. Like,
Yes.
the performance is great and serious, and it's so perfect.
Right, it's very good.
So yeah, we get a bunch of these vignettes that happen, but then we also see some winners popping out of the woodwork.
Uh-huh.
The first one is Augustus. He's just this plump child eating food all the time.
I love his introduction. I laugh at everything Augustus says. Michael Ballner was a German actor, a German child actor, and he is hilarious in this movie. His first line, the reporter asks him, how do you feel, Augustus? He goes, "Hungry." And, I feel sorry for Wonka. It's going to cost him a fortune in fudge. And, it's... I love this kid.
He's great. And every child who wins a ticket, they've got eccentric family members hanging around them too. Like Augustus's parents are just letting him live this gluttonous life, and they're the same, right?
Yeah.
They're all just more sizable people, just eating food all the time.
Sure.
And that's what they do in life.
And I mean, like, they symbolize, of course, everything that's wrong with, like, rich gluttons. And that's part of it.
Exactly.
I mean, at one point, like, the news guy who's interviewing them, here we are with the famous family, the Gloops of of Dusselheim.
The Gloops.
Yes.
Yeah. The names are excellent in this movie.
They are, yes. He puts the microphone in front of the father, who just like chomps the head off of it and just continues eating. I mean, it's a real dumb kids movie thing, but I'm laughing really hard.
It's great because the jokes are so layered here.
Yeah.
This is like when the guy had the antlers on, like 2 seconds before, right? Like, it's so good.
Yes.
It's well structured and put together, and you can't just script this, right? This has to be done with production and direction. This is all a big team effort.
And I disagreed with Roald Dahl's sentiment about, the movie not capturing what he did in the book, because, I think they really do,
Okay.
I just read it, and this movie really does, do a good job in portraying what he was trying to get across. And
Yeah.
he didn't like kind of how zany everything was, and he didn't fully disavow it, I think, but he didn't want to be credited for it.
Right, because he did the script, but then he also had help from Robert Kaufman and David Seltzer,
Yes.
who did a bunch of passes on it to improve it, and they added more comedy to it.
Right.
I don't know what they did exactly. I don't have the scenes, but they changed it, and that's partly why Roald Dahl is kind of, not 100% on board with it.
And I wonder too, then maybe, I don't know, like you just said, I don't know the specifics of it, but I imagine he probably didn't like the things that we just praised, the small movies in
Yeah,
between.
probably not.
Because there was the three that we mentioned, then there was another one where like the guy is telling a team of scientists, he's standing in front of one of those giant UNIVAC computers.
Yes.
And yeah, that's also. It's not like the funniest thing ever written, but I was sitting there going, this feels like totally something in Roald Dahl. I don't know why he doesn't like it,
Yeah, maybe because he didn't want to share. I have no idea.
It's possible, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, but the first golden ticket winner is Augustus Gloop. And,
Yes.
Charlie is getting more and more anxious about things because it's not looking good for him.
Yeah.
He's not opening candy bars every day like the other kids.
He desperately wants to, but
Yes.
he knows because of his situation he can't.
Right.
There's a scene when the teacher is doing division problems or percentages
Yes.
with the kids, and he's asking them how many bars they've opened. Like, oh, I opened 100, yeah. And he asks Charlie, and he says 2, and he's like, okay, 200. And he goes, no, 2. And the teacher goes, 2? I can't figure that out. Let's just pretend it's 200.
Dude, that's my favorite bit with this teacher is that he can't do the math on 2 chocolate bars.
I know. 2 divided by 1,000. He can't do that.
Yes, that rules.
Yes. So Charlie, he's desperate about it, though. And he keeps talking to Grandpa about it. As we see more and more winners come up, it keeps cutting back to Charlie and how this is affecting him pretty negatively.
Yeah, this is like this is the most significant moment of his life, even before, the grand prize. But like at this moment, this is everything. His whole life has been culminating has been leading to what this moment is. And it's not, he has no way of like fixing it. He doesn't have the money to buy candy bars, and he can't just open tons of them like the other kids are.
Right. This is like someone who just buys a lotto ticket and says, I'm going to get out of this shithole that I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm just going to win the lottery one day. No, you're not.
I
You
know.
can't put all your faith in a Wonka bar. It doesn't work that way.
I have unfortunately dropped a lot of money over the years on playing the lottery.
Yeah.
As have many other citizens all over the world. And none of us have ever won a damn thing.
Nope.
And we never will. And they even put the disclaimer on the back of the ticket and lead you to a website showing you the math, and you have no chance.
Mm-hmm.
But we keep doing it. I mean, I haven't done it in a while, but like it went on for a while there where I was just like every day,
Yeah.
just, there at the freaking gas station.
I remember buying tickets a few times when it's like $800 billion.
Yes,
And I'm
yes.
like, okay, so now my odds are worse. And I'm buying it now.
And that makes me go to the place.
You know what? 800 billion is better than 100 million. So,
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to play at that measly level.
Yes, of
know.
course.
It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
I just like to think that maybe I bought that ticket, my money's contributing to the pot, and
Yeah.
some poor soul will use it to buy a bunch of booze and hookers, That's, all I can think about.
That is exactly what happens.
I know, right?
I remember I read a New York Times thing like 5 years ago about like this Powerball winner who, 10 years later, they were totally busted.
Yeah. Because no one knows how to do anything with money.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of people who are living in poverty don't have good money skills.
Right.
And that leads to just more of it.
I know.
Which is really sad.
Yes.
But,
yeah, the number 2 ticket winner is Veruca Salt.
Veruca Salt is my favorite, everybody.
Played by Julie Dawn Cole, who was an acting child prodigy. She's fantastic.
She's amazing in this role. And she's the famous spoiled brat who wants it now. She wants everything, Daddy. And her parents give it to her.
There's a moment where he's Mr. Salt, played by the great Roy Kinnear, is like inventorying what's been going on since the golden ticket announcement happened. He has a factory that opens peanuts, and he has a bunch of ladies down there who are like on the assembly line. He says that they've been shelling flaming chocolate bars from dawn to dusk. He says that in total they have shelled 767,000 chocolate bars.
Whew!
I mean, there's just like, he's having trucks of these things come in, and what gets lost in the ticket chase is that like that chocolate isn't going anywhere. Nobody's eating it.
Yeah.
So there's these people just opening, all these candy bars and throwing them on the ground, waiting, hoping for, because the whole point of them doing this is to get Veruca a golden ticket, and she's pissed off because she wasn't the first one to get it.
Yeah.
She said that, Daddy promised that I'd have it on the very first day.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
God, I love the Oompa Loompa song with her because it's all about the parents,
Yes, that's right. The mother and the father.
Yeah. The third one is Violet. She chews gum and is a local politician's daughter who also owns the used car lot.
Yes, this guy is a full-on crook. And I love, this is actually my favorite Peter Ostrom moment is I love Charlie's face while he watches Violet's news segment. He's so disgusted, and he can't believe this little turd who doesn't even really care about the chocolate factory. It's not special to her, but she's got a ticket and he doesn't.
Right, and she's just using this as an opportunity to... she talks about how she's chewed gum for a record amount of time, and she's rubbing it in the face of her friend who can't do it.
Her rival?
Yeah.
Yes.
She has a gum-chewing rival. Yeah, but Denise Nickerson plays Violet, and she's great, too.
Yes.
All the kids are really good in this.
They are the best part of the movie. The kids are just excellent, and they're all having a great time playing brats,
Yeah.
And especially Julie Dawn Cole and Denise Nickerson as Veruca and Violet. They are just fantastic together.
Yeah, and I always thought Violet looked like Danny Tamborelli from Pete and Pete. if you ask me, they've got the same kind of face structure and like the freckles and stuff. They look a lot alike.
That's pretty good, dude.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier the anniversary DVD with the Pure Imagination documentary. I had watched that when it was first released, and I listened to also the commentary track on the DVD, and it was all the kids, now in their 40s.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's very good. I felt a little bit bad for Michael Ballner because he couldn't really participate a lot because of the language barrier.
Right.
But you do hear him laughing quite a bit sometimes during the commentary, and they all reminisce a lot. And we find out that Julie Dawn Cole and Denise Nickerson both had a crush on Peter Ostrom.
Oh, yeah?
And this became a source of tension.
During the commentary?
On the
set?
Jokingly during the commentary.
Okay.
But on the set, it was. Because, like, they were friends, but, like, they both liked the same boy.
Okay.
And, like, when Violet meets her end, at the factory... Denise Nickerson is in the blueberry makeup waiting for them to get the lighting set up, and she has to watch helplessly while Julie walks off with Peter.
Oh.
And, there's nothing she can do.
Oh, no.
That must have been really hard.
It had to be. That's amazing.
Yes.
There's this weird love triangle
Yes.
going on. Okay. And we meet our fourth kid is Mike TV is his name. He's a cowboy-loving kid from Arizona who just watches TV all the time.
Yes. He can't be pulled away from it. His mother serves all of his dinners there. And
he hasn't been to the table in years.
And she tells the local news this very proudly.
There's also a great line when he has a fake gun, and he's like, yeah, Dad won't let me get a real one. And he says, not till you're 12, son.
Man, a bit of business about the not till you're 12, son line.
Yes.
Paris Themen, who plays Mike TV,
Yeah.
apparently that took like 20-something takes.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I guess the guy just couldn't get the line right. Not
The
tier
dad?
12, son. Yeah.
The dad couldn't say that?
He kept blowing it. I don't know if it was just like maybe Mel Stewart didn't like the reading or what it was, but like, yeah, it apparently was an all-day thing.
The guy has one line
Dude,
in the movie.
I mean, I guess the only time Mel Stewart behaved like Stanley Kubrick, but it was for this one actor.
Hey, he nailed it, though.
He got it, yes.
We finally got it. Everyone can have dinner now. And then there's the fifth winner, which turns out to be a fake winner, is someone from Paraguay.
Yes.
And so Charlie hears about the fifth one. He's real sad about it. And the whole world thinks that the search is over, right? That the madness and hysteria can stop.
Yes. Everyone's back at school now.
Yes. And Charlie, he goes in and he buys chocolate from the creepy chocolate candy man.
That's right, because he found some money in the street.
Yeah, he found some random money and then buys some chocolate from this creep. And as he leaves, he hears that the fifth ticket winner is fake. It's a scam. And then he gets his hopes up and opens that Wonka bar. And they build the tension. He like partially opens it. By the way, kid, just open it. Don't tease yourself.
Yeah.
If he didn't win this ticket, this kid kills himself tonight. I guarantee it. He's hanging above that bed with 4 grandparents under him.
Holy shit.
Dude. He puts so much on this ticket.
He does, because it's his life's dream. I mean, like, I don't know. Had he idolized Willy Wonka from age 3? I mean, is that the situation?
I don't know. They don't really talk about that, do they?
I mean, the only time when we see, Joe and Charlie, talking, like after hours, just the two of them, they're talking very intensely about the great Willy Wonka, and it's like he must have walked past that factory maybe every day for the last however many years.
Yeah.
But it seems like in that moment, this is the first time he's hearing all this news about the factory. So, yeah, what is his relationship to this legend? I don't know.
Maybe he just finally found out what gambling was, and now he's addicted. That's got to be it.
They got to have that sweet action.
Yeah, dude. So he opens the ticket, and he opened the chocolate, and he's got the golden ticket, everybody.
Yes.
And this is where you get the golden ticket song coming up.
And it's weird because they use the refrain of the Golden Ticket song before we actually hear Jack Albertson perform the song.
Yes.
And there's this moment too of when the hoax of the fifth ticket winner is announced. This is a great example, I think the best example of the subversive nature of the humor in this movie. Both on the newscast and in the paper the next day, the businessman from Paraguay it's a picture of Martin Bormann, Nazi Party chairman.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, of course,
Yeah.
I didn't get this when I was 10, but consider how, like, how amazing that is. I don't see many kids' movies today, of course, so I don't know if they still kind of do this kind of thing, but, like, I'm still shocked that they got away with
That
this.
joke has so many levels to it.
Dude, I mean,
that's insane.
Exactly.
Wow.
Like one of the worst war criminals in history who
fled to South America?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, right. I mean, they probably... I wonder if, like, Mel Stewart, like, the original thing was like, we're putting Mengele in here, and it's like, no, that's too much.
Yeah. Or a photo of Hitler.
Yes,
yeah.
right.
Nope, sorry. Quaker Oats won't allow it. Yeah. We're going with that guy.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, Quaker Oats put up a bunch of the money to make this movie because they were going to create a new chocolate bar called the Wonka Bar. Well, they named it the Wonka Bar because they knew the movie was happening, and so that's cross-promotion.
Yes, corporate tie-in.
And the candy bar apparently just was not produced correctly and just melted on the shelf.
Oh, God.
And that part was a huge failure.
And that's disappointing for a lot of reasons, of course, but also because, like, the candy in this movie all looks fantastic.
Right.
Even before they get to the factory, like, the stuff in the creep's shop looks really good.
Yeah, I would let him abduct me probably if I was a child. That candy looks good.
I mean, the promise of these peanut clusters, is too overwhelming.
Yep. And those giant suckers.
Oh, man, yes.
Come on.
And whatever that weird candy drink is that's in the he decants it and you get this, like, twisty straw. That's very tempting.
It's probably just pure sugar,
It
man.
is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here, drink this. Go home to your parents now.
That's right. Long legs, motherfucker.
So he goes home, tells Grandpa Joe and everybody, hey, I got the ticket.
Right.
And then he wants to invite Grandpa Joe to go with him because you can bring a guest with you.
Yes.
A member of your family.
And this is the big golden ticket number. I've got a golden ticket. I've got a golden chance. And, Jack Albertson has a beautiful voice. Mm-hmm. And getting him out of the bed is a trial. And it's another of my favorite Peter Ostrom moments, which I don't even know if it's part of the script, but like, he's trying to pull Joe out of the bed, and it looks like he's got it, and then Joe starts to kind of smother him a little bit, and Peter Ostrom goes, ah! It sounds totally real, like he can't breathe or something.
Could be, yeah, he improv that. But yeah, after 20 years, this man has finally gotten out of bed.
Yes.
And then he starts skipping around, singing a song.
And Jack Albertson is an old vaudevillian, so he has all this great, like soft shoe, hat and cane work.
Yeah, the way he holds that cane, he's held a cane a few times,
he's
you can
done
tell.
This. Yeah, exactly. This guy's been in like Ziegfeld Follies, dude, And it's great, too, because on the commentary track, it's another Peter Ostrom thing where he's like revisiting it. Peter Ostrom is not a very good singer.
Not at all,
he's not,
dude.
Right?
I was just about to say something about that. This little kid, man. His voice does not go with anything else in this movie.
He doesn't. And Peter Ostrom, as an adult, admits that. He's like, I hated this. I really admired, he said he really admired Jack Albertson. Yeah. And like Jack taught him all these great, dance routines and everything. And like Peter is able to get that. You see him kind of doing these spin moves and everything. And he's okay with that, but it's like, and a golden day. His voice is like just up and down throughout the thing.
Yeah, he sounds like me. When I was a kid, that's how I sounded.
Like when your voice was changing and stuff.
Like I can't sing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't sing very well right now anyway. Probably better than this little kid.
Yeah,
but, dude,
most people are.
This little kid voice singing these songs it's the worst part about the songs, definitely.
Yes, right.
But it is a kid's movie in theory, right? It's
right.
marketed towards children in a way. And, you got a little kid singing, who cares?
And I mean, like, it would have really sucked if like they just have like Peter Ostrom's mouth moving and you hear Marnie Nixon's voice come out. That would suck.
Exactly. Yeah. So I know Grandpa Joe's his favorite, but he just leaves everyone else in this bed.
Yeah.
Can't anyone else, start moving? Come on, people.
I mean, the one guy, Grandpa
Get a
George.
Job!
Yeah. Well, they are 90s. I mean, in the book, they tell them these people were like, like centenarians.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And the one dude, Grandpa George, has like the thickest glasses you've ever seen. And when you see Grandpa Joe like dancing around the bed, he's trying to follow along. And it's obvious this guy like really can't see. Whoever this actor is, I mean, he was definitely like almost blind. I mean, like those glasses are so damn thick.
Yeah.
And he's just like peering around the room. And yeah, I felt bad for him actually because he looked like he was in a bad way.
So now we get to go to the factory.
Yes.
And the tour is about to begin.
Yes. And at minute 44, here is the star of the movie, Gene Wilder.
Yes, exactly. He walks out with a cane very slowly. Looks like this man is crippled and has a hard time walking.
Yes.
And he walks down this red carpet, basically it's purple.
Yep.
But up to the gates. And as he gets there, everyone's looking in anticipation, like, what's he going to do? What's he going to say? And his cane gets stuck in the ground, and he takes a step without the cane and starts to stumble forward as if he's going to crash land. But he does a tuck and roll and then pops up like with a ta-da!
Yep.
And everyone cheers. This is an excellent character introduction. One of the greatest, probably.
It's a fantastic entrance, yeah. This is legendary, and it was Gene Wilder's idea, and
he wasn't going to do the movie if they didn't let him do this.
I mean, that's quite a bargaining chip, I need to do a somersault, Mel.
Yes.
And if you don't, I'm not going to play ball.
Yep, and the reason he wanted to do this is because he wants people to know if they can trust this guy or not. Here's this guy that's faking to be crippled, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, I'm not, psych.
Yeah,
this guy's
shitty.
a trickster, right?
Yeah.
He likes to play jokes on people. Can you take what he's saying seriously?
Wow, you know what? Looking back, this isn't as magical as I thought it was. This man is pretending to be an invalid. And that's shitty.
So cruel.
Yes.
Yes, but he sets up one expectation just to slap you across the face and say, no,
right.
You don't know what you're getting here. Yes. Which I think is just excellent for the character and for the rest of the movie. Right. Because it sets up, all right, we're going to Oz, everybody. Yes. We're going on this crazy adventure. And
just like Oz the Great and Powerful, like Willy Wonka he's way more mischievous, obviously, and he's not as sinister as Oz.
Yeah.
But he actually, I guess maybe in some ways he is, because he really we'll find out later that everything that happened up until this moment was all his doing.
Right.
And that was an important thing I guess we left out. Like the other chocolatier you mentioned, Slugworth, every time someone won a ticket, he's been there.
Yeah.
And you always
Instantly.
see him. Yes, he's right there. And he's whispering in the ear of the lucky winner. And when we get to Charlie, he corners him in this back street.
Yeah, he's like a droog.
Yes.
Dude. And he's like, hey, I need you to get me the everlasting gobstopper recipe. And I'll give you $10,000 if you do it.
A droog.
Yeah.
Right. He promises him riches if he gives him the recipe for the everlasting gobstopper. Because he said that if Wonka achieves this, it's going to ruin him.
Okay.
Got it, dude.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, listen, you're Pepsi. You're number 2. Just accept it.
Right. Pepsi's not trying to steal Coke's formula.
Nope. It's all good.
Yeah. You can both make quadrillions of dollars at the same time. It's fine. Right. Maybe give some to Charlie for no reason. There you go.
I mean, he's holding $10,000 in his hand. He even fans it like a deck of cards and says, your reward will be 10,000 of these. How about you just give it to me now? I'll give you the fucking ticket, dude. You can go in the factory and steal the gobstopper yourself.
Hey, you don't sell your golden ticket, man. You don't sell your Taylor Swift tickets. You don't sell your tickets.
I'm not a dewy-eyed 11-year-old anymore. So at the time I would have been like, yeah, of course not. No way, you're not getting this.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, hey man, listen, okay, I have needs, I have bills to pay, I have a hungry family. Give me that money.
Give me that money. This would make a great parody, like a YouTube short someone makes, that'd be excellent. Or it would fit perfectly into Wet Hot American Summer.
That's true.
Wouldn't it?
You're right.
Yeah.
You see Charlie shooting up.
Oh, man. So, yes. Willy Wonka now lets everyone into the factory. They go in and they have to sign a contract. And it's this gigantic wall-sized contract that the print gets smaller and smaller as you get more towards the bottom of the page. And it gets so fine that you can't even see it anymore.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great visual for the movie.
Yeah, it becomes like invisible ink by the bottom of it.
Yeah.
It gets to, 0.0006 font, and you can't even see it. It's great. And it's all they're kind of reading it under their breath, and a lot of it is in Latin. There's a lot of legalese in there that nobody knows what it is.
Yes.
And Wonka is demanding that all the kids sign this.
And it's written in some kind of script too, cursive. So yeah, you're not reading this thing, anybody.
Right, exactly.
And Violet's dad, he's a card salesman. He's like, hey, we're not signing any contracts. I deal with contracts. They're for suckers. And so... He's smart, right? Yeah, maybe you shouldn't sign that without reading it.
That's true.
But no, I want my chocolate now. So they go and sign this contract. I know that's a different child, everybody, but I'm just go with me.
Right.
They all sign the contract and get in. And they go through a weird room that's just this tiny corridor, and they all are smashed in there like this rectangular elevator almost with one door. They go in, they come out the same door, and they're in a different place. So already there's some weird magic shenanigans happening in this place.
And unrelated to the magic shenanigans, because I've seen this movie so many times, whenever this happens, especially when we do it for the show, I'll decide to focus on things that maybe I wasn't even supposed to focus on. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I just decided to watch Michael Ballner, as Augustus throughout this stuff. And while everybody's freaking out because the room is getting smaller and people are touching each other and getting freaked out and they're scared, I watched Michael Ballner in the back at the screen left. He's just standing there completely upright, staring at the wall, not saying anything. He's expressionless.
Right.
He's just waiting for the scene to end. He doesn't look like it's just like
everyone else is panicking, and he's just stone-faced.
Completely stone-faced.
I do the same thing. I'll, like when Violet turns into the blueberry, I was just like staring at her face. I'm like, all right, so is she blinking? What's she doing?
Ah, yes.
That's all I did. I was just like, I didn't pay any attention to anything else. I was like, what's she doing? What's the actor doing? And that's what you do after you've seen it a bunch, right?
Yes, you start to notice other things. I mean, that's part of the experience of seeing something twice or whatever. But like, yeah, this one, I just was like, oh my God, this kid. I mean, obviously, again, like he probably can't understand what's being said. That's part of it. So he's just waiting for, the bell to ring so we can do something else.
That's pretty great, dude.
Yeah, it's good.
So they end up... Finally, they go to what's known as the chocolate room. Mm-hmm. This is the famous Willy Wonka area, everybody. It's the chocolate river.
Right.
All the trees are made of candy. Everything is edible. And you get the Pure Imagination song.
And they went through a very, like a door that's like the same size as like your oven, and they all squeeze through it. But when they emerge on the other side, it's this gigantic,
yeah, it's a huge like safe vault door that swings open.
Right.
But in the other room, it's this tiny Alice in Wonderland door. I love that gag.
And when they go in, Pure Imagination. Gene Wilder starts to sing. And, just like Jack Albertson, fantastic. He's great.
My favorite song in the movie.
Okay.
I think it's the best song in the movie. It's my favorite. I love Gene Wilder's performance, his rendition of it, if you want to say.
Yes.
It's just great.
It is. And I love his performance while singing and also maintaining, the humor. Yeah. As like they're entering the room and they're going down the stairs and he's like keeping them from advancing by using his cane to like, kind of say, hey, nope,
Yeah.
And at one point he is singing about like the magic and wonder of the world and everything. And he starts to tousle Mike TV's hair in a very loving way, like, oh, the beauty of a child. And then he says, wanna change the world? And then he pulls hair and like, lets it flutter to the ground. There's nothing to it.
Yeah.
Paris Themin admitted that Gene Wilder actually did yank hair out of his head.
No.
Yes. And like, and he,
Oh.
and it's great because Willy Wonka hates this kid and is just like pulling his hair.
Yes.
I mean, that's a bad abusive thing to do, but it's very funny on camera. I'm sorry,
Yeah, maybe that shouldn't have happened.
Yes.
And I know a lot of the time the kids weren't really sure what he was going to do.
I know.
Like a lot of the people on the set, we didn't know what Willy Wonka was going to do in the scenes.
And their reaction when they first walk into the chocolate room apparently was legitimate. Like them or the parents hadn't seen this place yet. So they wanted them to like have a real reaction because everything we see here is really happening. I mean, not everything of course is edible like Willy Wonka says, but a lot of it was I think I read like a third of what we see on the set you could eat.
Yeah, that's what I heard also, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's still a lot.
As he's singing this song about like the wonder of your imagination and the possibilities, everyone's kind of going around eating things off trees, digging their hands into like mushrooms and stuff.
Yes.
And like they're just okay, I can't stand this, everybody. Like when people just go full force into like food and their hands are covered. You could have just like put your fingertip in and got a little whipped cream. No, you stuck your whole hand in this bowl of dip. Why would anyone do that? Unless you've been starving or in some kind of camp for a year. You don't do this.
I agree. That is.
I just wanted paper towels. I wanted them to wash their hands. Please.
Because there is no facility that we see on hand for that.
Where are the bathrooms in this place?
There's no bathrooms. There's no, not even a paper towel dispenser. Yeah, and you see Mike TV's mom full on like put her whole hand in that mushroom cream.
Yes.
And then like Veruca opens up that big pumpkin and starts, fishing stuff out of it. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the kids doing that because children do things like that drive me nuts.
Yes,
but an adult should not be doing this.
No,
Unless you're a POW. You don't do this.
That's right, exactly.
No.
And it's also just, Willy Wonka says everything in here is edible, but It's certainly not very sanitary. If this is a working factory, you can't have people just coming up to the line and start, like putting their mitts in and stuff.
Well, he does mention the sanitary nature of the place a few times, like when Augustus falls in the chocolate,
Yes, right.
now it's all tainted, and when they bump into the roof of the fizzy lifting drink, they have to sanitize that room
That's
now.
true,
Like,
yes.
So I think there is pretty good sanitation going on in this factory, but you just can't have these 10 people walking around sticking their fists into these mushroom cups.
Absolutely not, because now they got to work overtime to like make up for
Yeah,
for
do these
this visit to the
Oompa
chocolate
Loompas
room.
get time and a half? What kind of union do they got?
Oh, I don't think they got anything. I
Oh.
think this is he never said. He says that the Oompa Loompas are here. He brought them in.
He says he rescued them.
He rescued them. He doesn't say he's paying them.
Guess what? You're lucky. You get to live and work
That's right.
for me now.
Yes, forever.
My cousin is Oscar Schindler, you know?
God damn it, dude. This is awful. This is bad stuff.
This is Munich, right?
Yes.
All right.
Right, the Wolf's Lair is right nearby, dude.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, the set design is just amazing.
Yeah.
It looks great. The colors pop. I really love the color choices in the movie.
Yes.
And even just having that purple suit that Willy Wonka wears.
Right.
It's just amazing. It's iconic now, right?
Absolutely. And because especially since everybody else is like dressed in like normal, 1970s clothing, and you have this guy with this cartoonish looking attire, you know, it's great.
Yeah, and so we do get to see the Oompa Loompas now, everybody, which I love the Oompa Loompas. They're so good, and I love how they're always teaching you a life lesson after everything happens.
Right.
It's great.
And we get their first song, and when Augustus falls into the river of chocolate and gets sucked up into the vacuum, it's a song about being a fat kid and how that's not good, and it's your parents' fault, and it's a good lesson. It's probably, I'm sure today
It's one of the 7 deadly sins, Dave.
It is, exactly.
The Oompas know that,
Yes. Yes.
So they're telling you. Yeah, and I love how weird these performances are, right? The Oompa Loompas, they're little people dressed in white overalls with orange skin, with green hair.
Right.
It's quite an image.
Yes.
And they do these weird kind of, it's like robotic dance moves almost
Yeah.
while they're singing. And the way the movie does it also is like the lyrics pop up on the screen in these weird letters and like morph in weird ways.
Right.
And the Oompas might be like down in a little square in the corner while the letters are filling up the screen. It's so strange.
It's filmmaking. You
Yeah.
know, it very much is like, it reminds me of like children's television workshop stuff where it's it's kind of psychedelic a little bit.
Oh yeah, man! This is right off the tail of the '60s.
That's
so.
right. Yes, and like you'd see a lot of this in like the Electric Company later on, and Sesame Street, where it's just and because like the letters aren't just, it's not just that it's like coming up in block font and that's it. The letters start dancing a little bit.
Yeah,
and it almost kind of becomes I don't know. It's a trip, is what I'm saying.
It is. It's very trippy. That's a great way to say it. But I love how different it is from the rest of the film. The Oompa Loompas get these special interstitial songs.
Oh yeah, it's great because it gives you the lesson that you're supposed to learn, but it also does it and it delivers it in a fun way.
Yeah. Did you ever see the Futurama episode when they go to the Slurm factory?
Yes, I did. Yes.
That's a pretty excellent one. And they do a riff on this. There's the Grunka Lunkas who are helping make the Slurm.
Yes.
And they're singing the songs. And at one point they say something. There's like armed guards, and the Grunka Lunkas, show up, and they're like, Grunka, Lunka, dunkety armed guards, don't pay attention to the armed guards. Like, it's so ridiculous, this episode. I would say seek it out, everybody. If you're even slightly interested in Futurama, and you haven't seen that, that's a good one.
Just watch Futurama, everybody. It's a good show.
Yes, it definitely is. So now we've got one kid down, and we go on a boat ride. We ride on the Wonkatania.
Yes, one kid down.
I love the name of the boat, the Wonkatania.
Yeah. Wonkatania
I mean,
is
it's
good.
a horrible, tragic accident, and they named their boat after it.
I mean, it's World War I started mainly because I know it's like
Yes.
yes, and Well, we have we go on the boat now, and this is like one of the most kind of referenced, I think, sequences in the movie. It's the one that like a lot of people point to as like, hey man, this movie's kind of fucked up, you know?
Yeah.
Because Willy Wonka starts doing this monologue about, you know, there's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going, and the Grizzly Reaper mowing, and the, you know, and it is scary. And at the end of his diatribe, he just looks at the guests and starts screaming with his eyes bugged out. I mean, like I can't. I don't want to do it because it would just blow out our ears. But like, it is a loud scream, and behind him and around them is this panoramic montage of scary images. Yeah, and there's this pulsating music. In fact, one of the images, the shot of the worm crawling over the dead man's upper lip. It's really shocking. Yeah. You know, that's not for kids, and it's probably too extreme and shouldn't have been here.
It is.
You know?
And you get to see a chicken get decapitated.
Yes.
That one, I remember seeing that as a kid and like literally jumping back in my seat.
Right.
Like, holy crap. There's real death in this movie.
I know.
They show close-ups of eyeballs. There's lizards eating bugs and stuff. So yeah, I don't know if it's a rear screen projection, I don't know how they're doing it, but some kind of projection all around them. And it is disturbing imagery.
Yes.
That feels very out of place in the movie. Like, at this point, you've never seen this in this movie. It's like, what are they doing? Where's this movie going?
Well,
Holy
yeah,
cow.
dude. I mean, what if you're just like taking your kids to The Incredibles and like, you know, Faces of Death appears out of nowhere, you know? I mean, that's what we're dealing with.
Right. There's a real skeleton, you know? Like,
yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, so the boat ride might be one of the most famous scenes in the movie.
Right.
And like you said, people talk about it a lot. Some people don't even like this scene
because
it's so out of place.
I remember I was sitting in a friend's truck, and he had just bought the most recent Marilyn Manson album.
Uh-huh.
And like the album starts with, you know, Marilyn reciting these words. And my friend hadn't seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And he wondered why I was like mouthing the words as he said that. He was like, how do you know this? This just came out. I said, well, no, this is from Willy Wonka. It is? A children's movie? Yes. Yes.
And then he watched it?
And then he watched it, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
What did he think? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay.
We didn't talk about it after that, but he did go out and watch the movie eventually.
So
I remember him
like,
liking
hey,
it.
we're going back to my place
no,
and we're watching
no.
it? Nothing
Yeah,
like
it wasn't
that?
like that, yeah.
We're going to watch Willy Wonka and listen to Marilyn Manson?
No.
I guarantee you there's people who do that. I think they could go hand in hand, actually. Yeah,
like that part
works.
of it would sync up to at least this sequence, certainly.
Like
yes,
somewhere over the rainbow.
Yes, that's right.
Or what is that? What do they call it? The
Dark Side of the Rainbow.
Dark Side of the Rainbow.
Yes,
exactly.
you sync up Wizard of Oz with Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, I've never done it. I should.
It works.
Okay, I'm there.
It's definitely it's perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna do that for sure.
Oh yeah, you got to do it at least once.
Oh man, and now the boat ride ends suddenly. They're like, "What, Wonka? You have to stop!" And he's like, "Oh, you're right." And then they stop immediately, and they're at a new place, and he calls it the inventing room, and he says, "There's no touching, no tasting, no telling. This is all my most secret stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And so they go in there, and it's just this madhouse of like circus equipment and cauldrons and machines and
Rube Goldberg devices.
Yep.
And he's like throwing like garments into the vat of into this brew.
He touches it and he's like, it's too cold, and then he puts a coat in it.
Yes. Yes. He puts like shoes in and it's like, gives it some kick, you know.
Yeah.
It's like there's pun rib ticklers.
Grandpa Joe at one point says it looks like a Turkish bath to me. And I'm like, all right, Grandpa Joe. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That's not a kid's joke.
No,
Come on.
we're talking about like Grandpa Joe. Oh, yeah, he's got a past.
What is he hiding? Is this why he hasn't left the house in 20 years?
Dude, yes.
But we get to see the everlasting gobstopper.
Yes.
The treasured item that Slugworth is after.
So I remember after reading the book when I was like 7 years old, seeing like Willy Wonka candy in the store.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what corporate tie-ins were. I was just like, wait a minute, but that's Willy Wonka from the book. You know, what's going on? So this is real? You know, I hadn't seen the movie yet. So I was like, oh my God, you know, so they must have, that novel I read was actually, you know, nonfiction, you know. It really messed with my head a bit. And, you know, it wasn't like a major concern for me, but like, you know.
Right, yeah. But it was one of those realizations you have as a kid. You're like, oh, wow, there's more to this world than I know.
Exactly. So if I buy this pack of nerds, I mean, like the real Willy Wonka is going to make money from this, you know?
Yes, right.
And thinking back now, though, like the everlasting gobstoppers that you get at the store weren't like this. I don't know why they never made them in this style, because they look fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, they look like a
20-sided die.
Like some kind of prongs coming off of it.
Right.
It doesn't look very appetizing, honestly.
Oh, really?
Like, how would you put it? Like,
I think it looks great.
Myself. It would be fine, I guess, but it looks like if you took all the banana runts and glued them together, you'd have this weird spiky concoction.
That sounds good to me, dude. You know?
By the way, banana runts are the best runts.
Oh, but
you get a banana and a strawberry together.
Man.
And if you're feeling crazy, put a lime in there with them.
That's good eating.
That's a good combo.
Yep. Just like the pink Starburst. It's got that same flavor.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Pink's the best Starburst.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gives one of these to every kid and makes them promise not to do anything with it.
Yes.
And everyone's like, okay. And Veruca crosses her fingers behind her back like a little shit. Man, like that makes it okay. Come on, little kids.
I understood that. I remember seeing people cross their fingers when I was a kid. I was like, what are you doing? Like, so you're telling me that you're lying right now.
Yeah.
You know, and you're doing that, so I guess you're absolved? What?
Yeah, there's kid rules, man.
Yeah, there are.
It's like a double dog dare. I mean...
I guess you're right, yes.
There's different layers of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they've all got what Slugworth wants now, right?
Yes.
And we know every kid has been confronted by Slugworth. So there's real risk here that these kids are going to get out and give this to Slugworth.
Right.
And Charlie has one also. They all have one.
And there's one problem with this Slugworth plot is that, like, he made this offer to all 5 children. If all 5 of them show up with everlasting gobstoppers, who gets the money?
None.
I guess.
He's probably going to whack them all.
It's probably true. You're right.
They're all going into the bottom of a river. That's what's happening.
Dude, Mike TV and cement shoes.
Yeah, and... at this point, Violet steals some gum she's not supposed to. It's the 3-course meal gum, which is a cool idea that the flavor changes over time. I really like that.
Right.
And I love how Willy Wonka reacts to these kids doing things he tells them not to.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of just like, oh, no, please don't.
Stop.
Very
don't. Come
casually.
Back.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Help. Like, I love how he does that. And I think that really, we know his motivations later, right?
Yeah.
Like, this was all a plan to get these kids to find a child who would love and care for the factory and for the candy and the wonder the way he does.
Yes.
And he already knows these kids probably within the first minute which ones are shits and which one aren't.
And yeah, he knew it before then.
So when someone eats this or gets themselves almost killed, he doesn't fucking care. Oh, no, stop, please. No, he doesn't care.
I really love that part of it because it shows such courage in your storytelling that you're willing to put... if you put rich children at risk, you're golden. You know, it's all good. You can make it so that they almost die. And everybody in the audience is on board with it.
Right,
you know?
You can't just have all these poor kids getting whacked.
Now
Come
it's
on.
a different thing. That's a completely different story.
No. Yeah, no way, dude. So she gets turned into a giant blueberry because apparently the dessert always causes a problem in this gum. And so she's this giant ball. The actress is in this giant ball with her hands and feet sticking out in her head, and she's being rolled around by Oompa Loompas. The real actress.
Yes, it's just Denise Nickerson with her head, protruding from this earth ball.
Yeah.
And they even did some good puppetry with the hands because, like, as the Oompa Loompas dance around her singing songs about chewing gum, the hands kind of do this little flutter.
Uh-huh.
And I at first, I very stupidly, the first time I saw this was like, not the first time I saw it, was like the 40th time I saw it. I was an adult when I was making this. I was like, oh, look at Denise Nickerson doing a little business with her hands. Of course, that's not her hands. She doesn't have a wingspan like Michael Jordan. It's these are puppet hands.
That was her real head, though.
It was her real head, yes.
Yeah, which apparently got bonked on the door opening a few times.
Because they have to like put her on her side and roll her to the juicing room, and she hit her head on the door.
You're getting Loompa'd, man. Come on.
It's just like, come on. And 1970, everybody, there was no insurance. You
think that was Gene's idea? Hey, I'll pull hair out here. We'll bash some heads over here. Who cares, right?
Gene Wilder was Phantom Menacing all this child endangerment.
Yes, dude. But yeah, they're talking about how, you can't do this.
Right.
I forget the specifics of this Oompa song.
It's rude to chew gum all the time, and it's okay when it's once in a while. It stops you from smoking and brightens your smile.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, I think it might be the weakest Oompa song.
Well, because if that's Violet's only offense is that she chews a lot of gum, that is kind of weak motivation.
Yeah.
But I like that they make her character a real shit though. Like she's always mouthing off, and she's
obnoxious for sure.
Yes.
But I don't think she deserves it as much as, say, Veruca Salt does.
That's true.
No one does.
No, exactly. Based on the evidence,
most serial killers don't.
I mean, Veruca is she's trouble.
So we move along into another room with the fizzy lifting drink. There's bubbles and everything, and a fan up in the ceiling.
And this part of the fizzy lifting drinks, I like the effect, and I like the whole sequence and everything, and how they, they ask, the kids ask if they can have some because they see it happening, and Wonka tells them no, it's not, hasn't been tested. Mm-hmm. So then Charlie and Joe they sneak some drinks, and it floats them to the ceiling.
Yeah,
and this takes a long time, and somehow Wonka doesn't notice that, or the other people don't notice that these guys are missing.
It is quite a longer scene.
Yes.
And I mean, come on, Grandpa Joe is like, come on, we're just gonna sneak a little sip. Come on, Charlie,
man,
let's get some whiskey.
I know, right?
All right,
yes.
Joe.
Yeah,
more about your past is coming out. And yeah, but they start floating up and they're flying in the air.
Right.
And they're having fun, and you can tell they're on wires at their waist.
Of course.
And they're doing front flips and stuff, and it's fun, and they're having a good time, but then they can't get back down, and they start floating up to the ceiling fan that's going to chop them up. Mm-hmm. It's like Alien 3 up there. Yes. And Grandpa burps and starts to descend, and he's like, Charlie, burp, it's the only way. So Peter Ostrom's like trying to swim, like doggy paddle his way while he's burping. There's these post-production burps put in,
man,
and it looks horrible.
It does,
honestly.
yeah.
Like, I remember as a kid not liking this scene because it just looked weird.
Yeah,
like the way he's paddling to swim down while fake burping. He's like desperately paddling too, like a shark is about to get him, right. Which you would if you're gonna get chopped up by a ceiling fan, but I don't like it, and it still bugs me today. I watch it, I'm like, man, that kind of sucks.
I know. I'm with you on all the details you mentioned too, but I'm also just like, I can't get over the inconsistency of the other people on the tour. Like when they eventually catch up to them, nobody says, "Hey, where were you?"
Yeah, right.
Because we've established there's no bathrooms here. Nobody stopped off for a piss.
I'm going to the gift shop. I'll be right back. That's right. Yeah, that's not happening.
Right. So yeah, something was obviously going on, and like the whole point too of the other kids, meeting an end is that they don't listen to Mr. Wonka.
Yeah.
And in this case, Charlie and Joe do likewise, and that's out of character.
Yeah, and if they would have got chopped up, they'd probably get an Oompa song while they're mopping up the viscera.
I mean, yeah. And what would that song have been about?
I have no idea.
I mean, jeez.
Yeah. But fortunately, they're still alive.
Right.
And, on my Blu-ray, it really sucks because at this part, the fizzy lifting part, it skips for me.
Okay.
It's been doing it for years. And so I miss like the first minute of the scene usually.
Oh.
Like the part where he tells them not to drink.
Yeah.
It always skips over that, and they're already floating in the air.
Okay.
And I'm like, damn it. but I'm too cheap to go buy a new one.
Well,
So I'm like,
I mean,
and I've seen it 100 times,
yes.
so I know what's happening, so I just deal with it.
Yeah, and you already know like what the point of it is, so you're not missing that much.
Yes. So
Yeah.
normally I'd be really upset, but
Right.
I'm just a tiny bit upset. But yeah, they go into the next room, and it's the golden goose room, where the geese are laying these golden eggs, and they have to determine if they're good or bad, and it lands on this platform. And if it's good, the Oompa Loompas take it and they go and process it. If it's bad, it goes like, eh, and then the floor drops and the egg goes down into
Yes.
the incinerator, apparently.
Right. And this happens to be my favorite musical number in the movie, is Julie Dawn Cole as Veruca Salt singing "I Want It
Yeah,
Now."
this is way up there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's fantastic, and it's not just the vocal performance; it's like all the dancing. And at one point, she's like in between the two tables, and she just expertly like balances herself like she's on parallel bars,
Yeah.
and does this little kick. And she's obviously like been trained at she's already a seasoned actor at
Yes.
age like 12.
It's the most choreographed of any of the songs,
Yes.
right? And like even when she like spins that shopping cart 360 and like starts like pushing it towards Oompa Loompas and then shoves it into that pile of boxes and it comes crashing down.
Oh man,
like it's
yeah.
so good.
I know. And when she goes over to the hanging baskets and like starts, it's great Foley as she like, just kind of hits him with her fist underneath and like all the confetti goes flying. It's, like, dum, dum,
Yeah.
dum, dum. It's great.
Oh man. And apparently she wasn't snotty enough for this scene.
Okay.
And the director had to keep telling her, and they're like, no, you got to be worse, way worse. Like, and I'm sure she was doing a great job before, but he's like, no, you've got to like turn it to 11.
Yes.
Do it. And like, that's what we get here. It's just, God, you hate this child so much because no one likes a child who's behaving this way, right?
Right.
It's just the worst way for anyone to behave, adult or child, but no one's doing anything about it to teach her not to be this way, especially her dad who's there.
I know.
And watching her get her comeuppance here is one of the highlights of the movie.
It's very satisfying
And
watching her go down the garbage
It's
chute.
the end of the song because she climbs up onto where the egg lands. She starts singing because she wants a golden goose now, and Dad's not going to get it right now. He's going to do it later.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want it now. And so the song culminates with her climbing up on that platform that opens and says, "I want it now," and she falls down because it says "bad" as she steps on it.
Yep.
And it opens. It's great.
Yeah, and Willy Wonka tries to, he doesn't try very hard to like soften the blow for the dad.
Yeah.
He tells Mr. Salt that it goes to the incinerator, and he's like,
Yeah.
"What?"
We only use that incinerator every other day, so she's got a pretty good chance.
I mean, come on. It's just like that child might be burning alive right now, and Willy Wonka he doesn't care. He's actually kind of glad about it.
One less vermin.
Yes, right. It's a good start.
And he says, man, children are disappearing like rabbits, which is great. I love all the little things he says. They're so good.
Man, and eventually Mr. Salt dives in after her, and he's also like given the bad alarm because
Yeah.
yes. And then we get the Oompa Loompa song talking about like the problems with Veruca Salt, and it's just what do you get when your kid is a brat, and and it's
the mother and the father.
No. Yes, and this obviously yes, and because like earlier the mother, we only had one scene with her. It was when Veruca wins the ticket, and she is like, as Veruca is behaving terribly and just being so demanding about everything, she is at her knitting, and she just looks at Mr. Salt and goes, "You're going to be very unpopular around here, Henry, unless you deliver." And it's like,
yeah,
she is like sanctioning all this behavior.
She's a full-grown Veruca Salt, man.
And she's so subtle about it, and just like telling the man, like, "Hey, you better get off your ass and get that golden ticket."
And when that ticket's found, she like there's a scene of her just kind of standing by her husband.
Yes.
It's like, well done.
yes,
You know?
ah, yes, grace and harmony.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, and we go to another thing. You get the Wonka mobile for a second, which is kind of a scene I don't think is needed.
Well, Of all the gadgets in the movie too, I think the Wonka mobile is kind of that's kind of pedestrian.
Well, it doesn't do anything to move the story along.
It
right?
doesn't. It's just them in a big like chitty chitty bang bang mobile kind
yes,
of thing.
and it's spewing out bubbles and stuff.
Yes, because it's powered by like soda, and there's components of it that look like tubas, and they just like
they start spraying foam.
Yes,
yeah,
and like the cast gets drenched and everything, and it's another great moment where, because you've seen it a million times, you get to I decided to focus on Peter Ostrom in this sequence.
Okay,
and he is breaking character throughout the whole thing. He's just like, he's beside himself with laughter and like flinging suds everywhere. He keeps looking at Jack Albertson. At one point, he like just looks over like almost right into the camera, and he's just like he barely like totally corpsing.
God.
And I was like, this is great, you know.
I watched Gene Wilder this time.
Okay.
I just focused on him. He's up top. He's covered in foam too, but
Yes.
he's just like, pulling levers and twisting knobs. He's very into it.
I know, and he's singing live on in the scene.
Yeah.
And he's completely unfazed. Yeah, just he's still working those gears.
Yeah, consummate professional. Gene Wilder is one of the greats, everybody.
He
you
is,
know it.
yes.
I don't have to tell you. But the scene doesn't progress any plot or anything. It's just kind of here for fun and amusement, really.
And I guess the effect at the end is that, like they end up, it's almost like a car wash.
Yeah.
They end up going through like almost like a dish, one of those old gadgets you use to like dry a dish towel.
Yeah.
They put it through it, and they put everybody through that, and they emerge on the other side without any suds on them.
Right, and the perspective is all weird because they shrink into this thing and then
Yes.
start to shrink back out of the other end.
Yeah, you're right. It's not great.
it's not great, but it's okay. It's
Yeah,
fine.
right.
It's entertaining.
But now we're in the this place, the TV room.
Yeah, this big white room. Like, everything is sterile, and they have to go in and wear these white suits, you
Yep.
know? And because everything's being developed, you can't bring in germs, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
what
and
you
it's
could
also
do.
radiation suits.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, because
Okay.
there's all this, like if they.
Well, they're transmitting television signals,
They
I
are,
guess. I
yes,
don't know.
exactly. It's like a microwave in there, and they for some reason, like Willy Wonka, this part of the book too is also a little weird. It's like he wants to transport candy bars via television. That's the goal, and he has perfected it. It looks like, because like it starts out with this gigantic candy bar there on a slab, and they take a picture of it, and the picture is transmitted over TV into in the air, and then goes into a television set, and it
Right.
emerges on the other side smaller and normal sized.
It's teleportation, right?
Exactly.
They go and they taste the chocolate. It's amazing. And then Mike TV, because he's obsessed with television, wants to be the first kid transmitted by television.
Which okay, Mike, that's you just saw what happened with the chocolate bar. I mean, like, this is not.
Yes.
How this is going to end. Like, all the other kids had their reasons for doing what they did.
Yeah.
Mike TV is just really dense.
Maybe he thinks it only does that to chocolate. I don't know.
Well,
but
but
this
he-
kid, really dense.
He is, because he even asks Willy Wonka. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Wonka, could you possibly talk this? Like, how would this work? Is it possible to do this with people?" He goes, "Well, yeah, I guess so. But he just saw what happened in the demonstration,
Right.
So he knows he's going to come out on the other end 3 inches tall."
So he runs over to the ray gun and gets, transmitted.
Yes,
Whatever Oompa Loompa is manning that ray gun needs to get fired.
really irresponsible. The
Yeah.
guy activates it.
Get the HR department on the
yes,
phone.
You don't do this on the word of Mike TV.
Yeah, so he gets transmitted, and he reemerges in the television as a tiny little kid. And I love this because they make a big set that looks like he's in a
Yeah.
like, it's the actor, but he looks tiny because they made a big set, like a big giant TV that he's standing in.
That's such a cool prop.
Yep.
You
And
know?
he like jumps out of the TV, and he's like, "Hey, Mom, look
Yes,
at me."
right? And they're using kind of that same, almost like James Whale technology of like the black velvet background to make
Yeah.
him look like, get the perspective right. It's so cool.
It's really good. And the mom at one point like picks him up with her
Yes.
fingers, and he's dangling there. And when we've got the full-size people and actors there like looking at the tiny guy, it's just like this little Lego guy she's holding him. She puts him in her purse. And Wonka's like, "All right, well we'll put him in the taffy puller, it'll stretch him back out."
Yeah.
And the Oompa Loompa they hand him to like whispers to him, and then Willy Wonka says, "No, I won't hold you responsible." I just love how the Oompa Loompa has this concern, like, dude, we might kill this kid. It's not going to be my fault, is it? No, I'll take full responsibility.
Oh, he wants assurances, the Oompa Loompa. That's great.
He's a smart Oompa. And you get your final Oompa song, and it's about... This one's a little different, right?
Yeah.
Like, the cadence of the rhythm of the song is a little different. Before it was like, Oompa Loompa doopity-doo. Now it's Oompa Loompa doopity-doo. It's a lot quicker at the end of the measure there.
Yes.
So it's got this different feel. I really like it.
That's true.
And I think they do a lot more dancing in this one, too. A lot more like cartwheels and spinning and stuff.
There's more footwork.
A little more Macarena moves.
That's true, right? I think there's a cartwheel at one point.
Yep.
And yeah, they're doing it in these radiation suits.
Yeah.
And like the content of the song is, of course, about like how much TV sucks.
Yeah.
And
you're watching too much.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so great in the book because like this song in the book goes on for like 3 pages.
Oh, really?
It's just this long poem about, withering screed about how TV is the worst. And yet it is, obviously,
Yeah.
We know what television has done to all of us and, what it almost did to cinema, or at least what they thought it was going to do to cinema back in like 1948 when people actually started to get them.
Yeah.
But TV is bad.
Yes, everybody. So we're down to one kid, right? Charlie.
Yes.
It's he and Grandpa Joe. That's it. And after this happens, Wonka kind of brushes them off. They don't really do anything else. Right?
He's standing there, he gets his mail. He starts reading through it like, okay, yeah, Bill, oh, I'm going to get this. Oh, good offer. Okay. And then he doesn't even say goodbye. He just goes into his office and they're like, well, what, but now he's like, oh yeah, well, hope you enjoyed yourself and take care.
Yeah. Which they were all promised lifetime supplies of chocolate.
Yes, that was the other part of the prize.
So that's kind of like, they're like, all right, so what now? Like, he just left us high and dry right here. Like, we don't even know where to go.
Charlie says, did we do something wrong? And Grandpa Joe's like, well, I'm going to go in there and find out. So he goes in there. And this is one of the coolest sets in the movie, is Willy Wonka's office.
Pretty neat. Everything's cut in half.
Yes.
The desk, the safe is only half a safe.
Yep, right.
So you could get in from the side if you wanted to.
And this was apparently all just like fully Mel Stewart's idea. They had dressed the set. Everything you see in there was there, but I guess it didn't look eccentric enough. And he's like, well, wait a minute, what if we cut everything in half? And, now it looks like Willy Wonka's office.
Yeah. I'm glad they did because this is
really
touch. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. I already mentioned I love the set designs, and this is just one of the best ones.
It's just a fantastic idea, and it's so simple, but it would never have occurred to me.
Right, and it's perfect for the character, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Grandpa Joe goes in there kind of demanding, like, hey, you promised this kid you'd give him chocolate, and now you're doing this. This isn't right.
Yeah, he just asks him, like, kind of in a friendly way, like, what about the lifetime supply of chocolate? And Willy Wonka is behaving like he hasn't so far, thus far. He's got his head in his hands, and he's attending to work, and he's not even looking at them. And he's answering Joe's questions in a very measured tone, but very unfriendly. And then he explodes on him.
Yeah.
And he says, well, what about the chocolate? It's wrong, sir. Wrong.
Yeah.
And it goes into this whole thing.
Yeah.
He gets out the contract that Charlie signed earlier. You can read it right here in this photostatic copy. Something, all this Latin. He goes,
et cetera, et cetera.
Memo bis punitor delicatum. Slam.
He's got the little magnifying glass over that fine print we talked about earlier. You can't see anything, but it's really funny because he's like reading that little section. Yeah, it's pretty good. I said good day,
Man, the whole thing, too, like with the, you stole fizzy lifting drinks,
Yep.
He's so mean, he's so threatening, and like,
Yeah.
whenever you were yelled at like this as a child, it's just like your insides would seize up.
Yeah, you get a good scolding, especially when it's from someone you don't know to do this kind of thing.
If it's not your parent, it's way, man, like anytime you were told off or yelled at by somebody who wasn't your mom and dad, it was just a horrible feeling.
Yes. So now, they don't get anything apparently. And Grandpa Joe says something about if Slugworth wants his gobstopper, he'll get one.
That's
and he's
right.
about to leave with Charlie. And then Charlie stops and thinks a minute, and he walks back in and he puts that gobstopper down on the half desk of Willy Wonka. And as he's leaving, Willy Wonka's demeanor changes again.
Yep.
As if Charlie had chosen the correct grail or something. Like, you win. Like, you passed the test, right? And he reveals, like, this was my plan the whole time. You know?
Yes.
I needed someone trustworthy who was honest and loved the factory and the chocolate and everything the way I do.
Yes, and Slugworth walks into the office,
Yes.
and Charlie's like, "Oh God!" And like Willy Wonka's like, "No, he works for me."
Yeah, this is Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes, right. And this guy comes in, just gives a big thumbs up. Hi there.
I always found it weird how he showed up when each kid got the golden ticket. Like, he
Yes.
knew the location and who would find it.
Right.
Like, it makes no sense, which kind of goes along with the tone of the movie, actually. It really
course.
suits it. But it actually makes more sense now. You're like, okay, well, he works for Wonka, so maybe he does know where the tickets are.
Yeah,
I don't know.
when the reveal about him being Wonka's employee, it makes sense that he'd be there,
And it is definitely an unexpected reveal. Like,
It
I was
is.
like, I never thought that was the case.
I know, and the actor too is this like angular man, tall, a very
Gunter Meisner
Yeah,
is the
Gunter
name.
Meisner.
Yeah.
A really interesting face this guy has.
Yeah.
He-
He looks evil, right?
And
They make
he-
him look like an evil Nazi guy.
And he has played Adolf Hitler in movies before.
Oh, has he?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, everyone's happy now because Charlie won. He passed the test because he's an honest kid who stayed true to his beliefs. And
Yes.
We saw earlier, all he wants to do is help his family.
Right.
All he wants to do is the right thing. And that's the choice he made in the end.
Mhm.
He didn't say, no, we're going to double cross this guy for $10,000. We're going to do what's noble and right.
And even when his grandpa was proposing to do that because they'd gotten yelled at, he was like, no, I know what to do. This is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I listened to you earlier, Grandpa, and you got us into this mess.
Exactly. Yes, you were the one who proposed stealing fizzy lifting drinks.
By the way, where were you 20 years ago? Where's my dad?
I know, right? How come all four of you are in this bed? Were they in the Turkish baths too?
Yes. Anyway, the end, they go to this thing called the Wonka Vader.
Yeah.
I find the end a little weird.
Okay.
They go into this, it looks like a rocket ship. Willy Wonka says, there's one button I never pressed, and it was this one, and he wants Charlie to press it.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that, and then they launch into the sky, and they're flying over the city, and it's a beautiful vista. Like, this is what we talked about. You see the rooftops
Yes.
and everything, the countryside. You see the factory, and he tells Charlie, like, this is all yours now. The factory is yours. I'm giving it to you. That's the real prize.
Right. And there was a great humorous bit right before because when they're in the glass elevator, the roof is made of glass, and it's the last button that Wonka has never pressed because all the buttons go to a different part of the factory, just zip away. And he said, "Okay, this one, we go ahead and do it." And it's to shoot them out the top of the factory, and Joe says, "Well, but the elevator's made of glass, and so is the ceiling. We'll be cut to ribbons." And Willy Wonka goes, "Probably." I love that line. I just love
great
the
one.
Probably.
And the way he delivers it is like, yeah, we might get cut.
I know.
You know? This is exciting.
Like, we're going to have a horrible death. That might happen, or it's going to be awesome.
He's like your one friend that you shouldn't do stuff with.
Yes. That's right.
What are we going to do when we get to the top of the mountain, Timmy? Well, you'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Man, those friends.
We're going to jump off with this parachute I found along the trail.
God damn it, dude. We all had that friend, and they were useful in that you had formative experiences,
Yes.
but they almost got you killed.
Yeah, those experiences could have ended very badly.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes, but and this is, of course, they're flying over the city, and Wonka reveals that the other part of, like you said
your
earlier.
family can come live at the factory
Yes.
with you, and everything will be good. And he said, this is the thing I don't like, the last line in the movie. He says, "Don't forget what happened to the man who got everything he ever wanted." And Charlie says, "What?" And he goes, "He lived happily ever after." No, you don't, everybody. Have you ever? No. You don't live happily ever after if you get everything you've ever wanted.
That kind of undoes the sentiment of...
It changes the whole meaning of the movie up until this point.
Because what was Veruca Salt's biggest problem is that she was getting everything she wanted.
Exactly.
The most unfortunate part of the Pure Imagination documentary is this particular line was not in the original script.
Yeah.
And they were shooting the ending and didn't know how to tie a bow on stuff. And David Seltzer is interviewed on the documentary, and he tells the most bullshit Hollywood story I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He thought he was done, so he went on vacation to Maine, to a remote fishing village. And he claims that a phone attached to a redwood tree was ringing as he was walking along a trail. And he happened to pick it up, and on the other end was Mel Stewart on the set of Willy Wonka saying, "Hey, David, we don't know how to end the movie."
Yeah.
And so, as a joke, he proposed this line of, he lived happily ever after. I love it, kid,
Yeah.
And that's what they shot. I don't believe this story for a second.
I don't know if that's how it played out. It probably isn't.
I mean,
But I believe that he wrote this bullshit.
I agree with that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely wrote the line, but I just that obvious. I was. Oh God.
I was walking through the woods and a phone rang.
That's such crap.
Maybe that's why he came up with this garbage way to end the movie. Because he can't put a story. He did say, this is his first time he ever wrote a script, and he only did patchwork on it. He didn't write it. Roald Dahl wrote it.
Right.
So, I don't know what else he's written. I don't know if you know.
No, I don't. I don't.
Yeah, that's why it sucks, I think.
He must not have been a very prominent screenwriter, because we can't think of a lot of the stuff off the top of our head, at least.
Yeah, so that's the end of the movie. Everyone's happy now.
Yeah.
And apparently it was going to end with Grandpa Joe yelling, "Yippee!" Like he's Anakin freaking Skywalker.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Because they had Jack Albertson had, unfortunately, during the fizzy lifting drink sequence had to go wee. When he was, and it was it's very awkward and grotesque, actually, to hear an old man say "we" to indicate he's having fun.
Oh my God.
And "yippee" would have sucked too.
Kind of gross.
Yes.
Okay, so this guy wrote The Omen. He wrote Prophecy. I mean, this guy's got some credits.
He wrote The Omen and The Prophecy?
Yeah, he also wrote all the sequels.
Holy shit. Okay,
Yeah.
I take it back, David.
Dragonfly, Shining Through. He's written some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, The Prophecy is a very dark film, as is The Omen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
David Seltzer.
Okay, everybody. All right, Dave, you have anything else?
Gene Wilder's comb-over is quite something in this movie.
Yeah.
It had already been on full display in The Producers. Both him and Zero Mostel, it was like the Comb-Over Chronicles.
Yeah. Yes.
But this one, it's flying away half the time. It's sticking out of the hat. It almost can't be tamed. And in the end, when he's yelling at Charlie and Joe about stealing fizzy lifting drinks, it's unnerving because he's got this large tuft of hair protruding out the left side of his head, and he's just looking at you with this seething, rage. And I'm like, man, this guy's kind of scary. And he's already screaming at me, and he's got this hair that I can't take my eyes off of, And the other thing, too, is that, he claims, Wonka is supposed to be, I guess, hey, look, I'm getting older now. I'm going to, I won't live forever. Gene Wilder was 38 years old. Mm-hmm. And he's claiming that he's you should be in the prime of your life right now.
Exactly.
But he's talking about, hanging it up,
I don't know why.
That's weird.
That makes no sense.
Right? Yeah. And the other thing, too, is just that, in the end, when in the book, there's, illustrations throughout,
Right. Yeah.
And my favorite drawing in the book is of the bad kids filing out of the factory after having gotten treatment for their injuries.
Oh. Okay.
Mike TV is now 15 feet tall because he went through the taffy puller. Mm-hmm. And Augustus is, they managed to suck him out of the pipes and everything, and he's not looking good. Violet's been juiced and everything, and Veruca looks like she's been through quite a storm as well. It's great. It's a great drawing, and the everybody looks like they've learned a lesson.
That's excellent.
Yes.
That would have been a great way to end the film.
Well, in Tim Burton's movie, which I don't really care for, they actually do this.
Never
sequence.
seen it. Never wanted to.
And the really most unfortunate part of it is that the movie doesn't end there. Willy Wonka is a real shit, and he won't let the family come and visit and live at the factory. And he just wants Charlie.
Okay.
And there's still a half hour left in the movie when they leave the factory because like Wonka has to like be convinced that like, you know, the family should come and live with him.
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. They work so hard in that movie to like make they took what was like Gene Wilder's you know, kind of playful meanness to kids, and they tried to ratchet it up to make it like, you know, modern about, and it doesn't work. Not for me.
Doesn't sound good.
No, it's not.
Yeah. One more thing I forgot to mention was I mentioned Quaker Oats making the chocolate bars and stuff, but the book is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? But the movie, they changed it to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That was because they named the chocolate bar the Wonka Bar.
Right.
So they wanted the movie to have Wonka in the title.
And Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is just such a better title for a story than Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I kind of like Willy Wonka.
You do?
I think I like it.
Okay.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is good. It's got that alliteration. It sounds good. But I like using Willy Wonka. I don't know. It just sounds more magical to me. Like the movie's more about the guy Willy Wonka, I guess.
Well, I think the story should be more about Charlie.
But it is, right?
Yeah.
But the title makes you think, I don't know. I feel like, well, who's Willy Wonka? What the heck is a Willy Wonka?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it kind of is.
I kind of like
intriguing.
it. I like both titles, but I do like Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Fun fact: back in my backyard wrestling days, we would be filming each other in wrestling matches, but also doing the commentating behind the camera.
Yes.
And we all had characters. My brother's name was Wally Wonko, and he was Willy Wonka's brother who sells breakfast foods.
That's a good gimmick.
Yep. We had a lot of good ones, folks. So I would say this movie's better than my AWF wrestling career, but
Well, having not seen all of your pay-per-views,
I'll let you borrow the DVD.
Thank you. Yes.
What would you recommend this movie though, Dave?
Yes, everybody. This is a fantastic film, and if you weren't lucky enough to have seen it as a kid, you'll still love it as an adult.
Yeah, it's an excellent movie. It's so wonderful, and imagination is rampant throughout.
Yes.
And it's just so funny in ways you won't even think.
I know.
It's so good.
Right.
Total recommend from me and from Dave, so check it out.
Yep.
And that wraps things up. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show anywhere you get your podcast. Rate it, review it, and most of all, share it. It gets more dudes listening to the dudes. And you can go to dudesonmovies.com and find anything you need right there.
And we're on Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Instagram. Look for Dudes on Movies. And our email address is dudesonmovies@gmail.com.
That's right. And we have a question of the week. Dave, what is the question of the week?
The question of the week is, what are your earliest memories of a book you read being made into a movie?
That's a very good question. I already have mine.
Yes.
I already know what it is.
Cool.
All right, so stay tuned next week when we discuss 1987's Predator, directed by John McTiernan and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. So until next week, I'm your dude Scott.
I'm your dude Dave.
And we'll see you next time.